Welcome back to the Washcast. Another week, another show. Happy to be consistent again. Look, I'm not going to give you a big long intro this time. All the sponsors, the usual suspects, down in the description below. Make sure you check them out. My guest this week is a social media influencer, primarily known on X. Great source of news, constantly keeping people updated, and honestly, just an all around great guy. This is another pre-recorded show, so if you're with us here in the chats, be looking for me down there. I will be interacting the entire show. Thank you guys for being here as always and supporting. If you like the stuff that I'm putting out, if you like the guests I'm having, like, share, follow, consider subscribing to the channel. $5 a month, totally worth it. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Without further ado, my guest, the Patriot Oasis. What is going on, brother? How are you?
Not much, man. It's good to see you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to have you. It's I've been following you for a hot minute now, so you're one of those
Good.
accounts that just you're constantly going
Yeah, I
nonstop.
mean, nonstop, dude. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of taken it up somewhat full time. I mean, it's like I enjoy it, and it's funny to troll liberals and just to call them out on their bullshit. And it's great. And I like just trying to get the news out there. I've got so many people now that are reaching out, like you, to do podcasts and stuff like that. So I figured, you know what? Let's just go at it full head.
But yeah, dive right in. I mean, obviously,
Right.
you have a day job on top of this, I assume, right?
Well, actually, no, I quit.
No shit.
Yeah. So I mean, I was in the Navy for a couple years, and I was an aircraft mechanic, and I kind of just stepped out of it, dude. I mean, my wife had our first kid not too long ago, and it's like I'm gonna take a break, you know. And I started doing my own thing, and between X and I've got another business on the side, so is my wife. So it's kind of like just took a breather, you know, like needed it.
It's nice being able to work for yourself, isn't it?
Yes, it is, dude. Yeah,
It's life changing. Well, thank you for your service, by the way.
I
Much
appreciate it. Thank
appreciated.
you.
So, give us a little background on you, man. How did you get into this whole like social media influencing thing?
Honestly, it started with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trials, if you can believe that.
No way, really?
Yeah. So I had this Twitter account, well, at the time, Twitter, now, you know, X, but I had a couple of them. I had my main and then a backup. And I had flown to San Diego at the time to meet my girlfriend, now wife. And it was right in the middle of the whole drama with Amber Turd and, Johnny Depp.
The height of the Me Too movement.
And I had just gotten out of the Navy and I had nothing to do. I was stock trading at the time, trying to get my business off the ground. And man, I was just blasting Twitter, shit talking Amber Heard and like just loving it. It was so much fun. And then I kind of just, you know, changed it to the Patriot Oasis because I've always followed Trump and always been a huge conservative. Started getting in with Gunther and them and just it took off, dude. I mean, it's still going. So I love it.
How'd you get in with Gunther, man? He seems like he's very selective with who he promotes.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't say I blame him.
I should probably rephrase getting in with him, you know. But we do message each other here and again on X, mainly just me reaching out to him. But I mean, he's a great guy, and you know, there's so many fake conservatives on X. It's ridiculous. Like Tiffany Fong, like she was putting all this stuff out the past couple of days, dude. Like just crap or shooting the shit at Trump, like literally. I mean, she puts the pictures of him on there that are just not really appealing and just talks about the stock market now. It's not doing real good. But I mean, that's got to happen with these tariffs. I mean, it has to get people to the negotiating table. But I
Well,
commented
and
on one
it's a
of her,
reset.
yeah, it's exactly what it is. And I commented on one of her posts, and let me pull it up. She said, let me pull it. So let's see. I done lost. Where was that?
Well, it's interesting that you make that point too. About the fake conservatives, because at some point, with the election cycle, everybody kind of latched on, right? It was the popular thing. You started to see a lot of the grift being exposed.
Yeah, big time.
And I was 100% pro Trump this election cycle. Like I didn't vote for him in 2016. I voted for him in 2020. I actually voted for the Libertarian candidate in 2016. Throwaway vote. But
Yeah.
I was very very pro Trump throughout the entire election season. But I stopped calling myself a conservative just shortly before the election because I do lean to the right.
Right.
But I tend to be more on the libertarian front. Like my guy is Javier Milei in Argentina. I love what he's doing. I think it's a master
Yes.
class in economics, and so I didn't want to take up that label because I do feel like there's a certain bit of party loyalty there, and I don't like the idea of being beholden to one party or the other. Because I mean, I call out Trump on a semi-regular basis, but it's not shit posting like Tiffany Fong. It's
Right.
usually general, like there's some backing to the criticism,
Right. I
and
think what she's trying to do, I don't mean to cut you off, but what
no,
she's
you're
doing
good.
is she's really, I don't know which way she stands, whether it's right or left. She's doing exactly what you're saying is she's riding the Trump wave, and now that there's an influx of conservative people on X because of Elon and Trump, she's just posting stuff to post it, I feel like. And I called her out. And, I said, your constant moaning on this platform is highly annoying. And and it was a post of Trump in the stock market yesterday. And then like 3 minutes later, I get hundreds of DMs a day, but I check my DMs kind of regularly. And I was like, is that a message from her? Is that really her? Or is that a parody account? And I clicked on it, and she said, LMAO whines about my tweets, yet follows me and messages me your own tweets begging for my attention with a bunch of laughy faces. And then she says, cuck boy. And I screenshotted that and I posted it. And I said something like, Tiffany Fong, wow, class act. I mean,
Yeah,
I had sent her two posts, I don't even know when, several months ago. And just like a lot of us do to try to get our content out there with these bigger accounts, At the
yeah,
time, I didn't have the following I do now. And when she went to DM me, she saw those posts I sent her and just called me
of
a
course you
cuck
did.
boy. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, class act from Tiffany Fong. So it's like, like I would never talk to Gunther that way or like Cat Turd or any of these guys that are, conservative influencers on X that are diehard conservatives on X
Yeah.
because, I mean, where those guys stand and they're fellow conservatives on X. So I got a lot of respect for them. You can't have respect for somebody like Tiffany Fong that I'm going to call her out, then she's going to get mad and call me a cuck boy. Like, wow.
I mean, it is. It's one of those things where you can kind of tell by someone's reaction
Oh, yeah.
whether or not they're whether it's criticism or whatever it is actually rooted in any kind of core belief. Generally, they react with anger, frustration, whatever. It's like, well, you're only doing that because, like we see from Democrats all the time, your point of view or your statement doesn't hold up under scrutiny.
Yes, exactly.
And so we're starting to see a lot of that happen. There was a big gay influencer that was kind of rode the Trump train for a while.
The
Clarkson
gays. We
Lawson.
love the gays.
We love the gays. And it's funny enough, I'm one of them, and I don't walk around farting glitter and shit and rainbows, right?
Yeah.
But we had a lot of these guys and girls too, mostly on the male side though. I noticed that kind of grifted off the conservative movement as a whole. One of them was Clarkson Lawson. He was a big proponent of Trump, anti woke, anti cancel culture, and then when it came time for the election, he put out a video on why he voted for Kamala and
But that was
then
interesting.
wondered why. Yeah, well, yeah, and then he wondered why he got all this blowback. And it's like, dude, you just spent the last few months trying to be pro Trump,
Right.
and then you're just like, oh yeah, I voted for Kamala in the end. What the fuck was the point other than to latch on to something that was hot and
Yep.
make money on it? I mean,
Exactly. I
he's
mean,
got
that's
a
what they're all
TikTok
trying to do.
following and everything else. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like they just have no integrity whatsoever. I mean,
they don't.
people like that just try to, excuse me, just exactly like you said, ride the wave and whatever, like Democrats, whoever writes the biggest check is whatever I'm going to support. And it's infuriating to an extent. but it's like I don't understand it. And there's so many of them on X too. Just I feel like they just make accounts to push their narrative, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, and the ones that are really interesting. So one of the accounts that I really enjoy following is Unusual Whales.
Yes.
And generally you would think when you look at their X feed, they're pretty consistent in terms of their views and like the way they frame things.
Right.
Because you can put something from a quote unquote neutral perspective, but when you frame it, the language points to one side or the other. And one of the things that really disappointed me was if you look at Unusual Whales content on X and then you go over to Threads and you look at their content there, they're posting the same stories or they're posting the
Hmm.
same event, but the framing is totally different. And some of
Yeah.
them, they just completely avoid talking about it in general because they're pandering to the audience.
Right.
And so I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that, not just for the simple fact that almost every social media site is paying you in some form or another now, but we have to remember we have a lot of people from the left that got brought over to the Trump
Big
camp
time.
in these
Yeah.
last 4 years. And so old habits die hard. And you're going to see a lot of the.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. There are a lot of people that are switching gears and saying, "Hold up, wait a minute. You know what? Maybe he's on to something." And yeah, and still got that kind of liberal mindset in what they're posting and what they're saying, but are backing Trump now.
Well, and not just that, but I think a lot of people on the left that came over to the Trump movement looked at it as a break from the status quo, which it is.
Yeah.
But I think they underestimated just how sharp the curve was going to be.
Right.
And it's like, hold on, wait a minute. Did I vote for this? Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You were clearly not paying attention to what you were supporting.
Exactly.
So, they just wanted something different.
Yeah. And Joe Biden opened up a lot of those people's eyes. I mean, it was the last, couple weeks have been evident of what happens when you get a president that means business and that is serious about what the hell is going on. I mean, there's
Yeah,
been more executive orders in the last couple weeks than, Joe Biden's entire presidency. It's crazy,
right.
you know?
And I mean, I have a bit of a gripe with that as well. It's not so much with Trump as it is Congress, because as these executive orders are
What
coming out,
Congress? We don't have a Congress that does anything. It's just it's
well,
so bad. They're
that's
just sitting on their ass. Like literally yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, Mike Johnson was touring the effing Pentagon. Like, what are you doing, dude? Y'all
yeah.
are like, get your asses in there and get some shit going. Arrest some folks, do some investigations, pass some laws, and back Trump's agenda. I mean, this is what
Yeah.
the American people voted for. What are you doing?
Well, and they're wasting our time and taxpayer dollars on votes to whether or not to allow pregnant or expecting new mothers to be able to vote from home.
Yeah.
Like,
They
why are we
wasted so
wasting our
much
time on
energy.
that?
Yeah, wasted so much energy and time. I mean, I haven't looked into that a lot. I've seen some stuff on here and there about it. And it's just like it's kind of like the people that shit talk me on Twitter or X. It's like I don't even pay attention or waste my time with those people. And that's kind of how I treated that. I'm like, are you
Right.
serious? I'm just gonna keep scrolling.
Well, and I don't understand why it came up to a vote. I mean, why was it even worth the time? We have 535 members of Congress between the House and the Senate. I don't know what percentage of that is women, but
Yeah.
most of them are older than fucking dirt. How many of
Right.
them are going to get pregnant? Like,
Yeah.
honestly. And if you look at the liberal side, nobody wants to fuck liberal women anyway. So how many of them are going to get pregnant?
Right.
Like, it,
And
it
the
just
ones that
is a
do get
waste
pregnant,
of.
yeah, I mean, and the ones that do get pregnant, you're going to be out for what, a week or two? Hell, they spend
Yeah.
2 weeks at a time on leave anyway or on vacation. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Why
Well,
are we?
I mean, just we're seeing that with this Congress, and I was hoping that with the Republican majority, we might start to see more get done. Reality is, the Republicans pushed hard for the win, and now they're back to being the spineless Republicans.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not doing anything.
I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know what Mike Johnson is thinking. I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and judge the man in Congress, but I mean, I don't know if he's trying to appease the other side of the House or, you know,
That's what he's been
Republicans
doing.
too, or what, with all these vacations and everything. But it's like, I think we're making it pretty clear on social media how evident it is of our hatred for the lack of action and stuff not happening. I mean, something's got to
Yeah,
happen.
absolutely.
He needs to be impeached, or if this keeps going on, we just need to get rid of his ass and find somebody else that's ready to a go getter like Trump. I mean, the man's almost in his 80s, and he's flying all across the country every other day. I mean, like signing executive orders, done more press conferences and everything. And what has Congress done? I mean, it's pitiful.
Absolutely nothing. And part of me thinks that it kind of comes back to that idea of the old uniparty. So this overarching bureaucracy that we're dealing with, they're looking at it as, okay, well, Trump is doing all of this through executive order. Maybe they're seeing it as, well, when Trump's gone, the pieces of the bureaucracy that he gets rid of by executive order, if we want to bring him back, we can with the next president. Like,
Right.
we'll find somebody that'll be a little more easily swayed. So some of it feels almost like it could be a fail-safe tool to keep the bureaucracy up and running. And
Yeah.
that's not what we voted for.
Right. I mean, clearly we demand, we wanted Trump back. Most of America wanted Trump back. And we knew when we
77
voted for
million plus.
Trump, stuff was going to happen, and Congress just hasn't gotten that memo clearly. And I don't know how we go about getting them in gear, but I mean, we need to figure it out somehow or another.
I mean, unfortunately, it seems like maybe the only way that we're going to get anybody into gear is to start primarying people.
Yeah.
And
Boot them
we need
out.
to start primarying the ones that are worth primarying. The Thomas Massey battle is not one of them. Like, let's get the guys like Mike Johnson and Lindsey Graham and the establishment guys out of there. And to your point about
Yeah.
Johnson wanting to appease the other side, well, he's been doing that since he was put into the position under the Biden
Yep.
administration. He caved to them at every single turn. And I was hoping that with a majority in Congress and a Trump presidency, that maybe the guy would grow a set of balls.
Right.
And apparently not, because they're
Yeah.
they're still in they're still in his wife's purse.
Right.
Like, at some point, though, we have to get this. If we want anything to stick, we have to get Congress in action. And
Yeah. And we got to start
and
arresting
it's
people. Like, I mean, and Pam Bondi today did a press conference in Florida about 3 MS-13 gang members that they found and finally arrested for killing a man back in 2015. Like, I mean, that's great and all, but the Attorney General of the United States is in Florida doing a press conference over 3 illegals getting killed or getting arrested. Like, I mean, that's
there will
cool,
be
but
4 Fox
it's the
News
Attorney General
appearances
of the
after
United
that.
States. Like, somebody else can't do that. You need to be making bigger moves, and
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the consensus among the voter base, I think, is pretty consistent in the fact that I think everybody's disappointed in Pam Bondi. I think
yeah.
everybody thought she was going to be more of a pit bull and she was going to really get after it.
Matt Gates was the
And
pit bull that we needed, and I hate
dude,
that didn't work out.
me too, me too. But the scandals and everything. Since when has Trump ever shied away or been worried about a scandal?
Right. I
Like,
mean,
it was a
that's what kind
nothing
of
burger.
it's kind of what threw him into, I don't know, some kind of bad light too, and made me and us kind of go, ooh, was he actually complicit in that? I mean, because if it's all a hoax and everything, then screw him. Like, go forward with it. Go to your hearings and stuff, and get confirmation hearings and get it going. And do it. But I don't
Well, and
know.
it's
That was kind of
interesting.
sus.
Well, it's also kind of interesting that we shied away from Matt Gaetz, but then when it came down to the Tate brothers, everybody, like half of the base, just jumped on board instantly, and it's like, wait a minute, wait, what? You're going to go
Yeah.
after Matt Gaetz, who actually would have had a stake in all this and probably been, like you said, the pit bull we needed,
Yeah.
but yet you're going to jump on the Tate train. Like,
Yeah.
at least be ideologically consistent. And when you get into the big tent like we have with Republicans now, you're going to see a little bit less of that.
Yeah. I
But we
think.
have to have a core consistency.
Yeah, most people are comfortable. I think just your average Joe is comfortable now that the Trump's back in the White House, and they put all their hope and faith into the fact that he'll get stuff done, or he'll make true on his promises when he was running. So you don't have a lot of people really giving a shit, honestly, about what else happens, and that's the problem, because Democrats and liberals are constantly on social media, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere you go, you see somebody with pink hair, fake boobs, or whatever else pumping estrogen. Like, TikTok is a cesspool of these people. I don't know what's wrong with my algorithm on Twitter or our TikTok, but they are everywhere pushing their narrative. And, people that are just turning a blind eye to everything else because Trump's now back in the White House. Daddy's home, he'll take care of it.
Yep.
We need people to step up and get on X and get on Facebook, or start getting involved in their local communities and stuff, and getting stuff changed. And that's another reason why he did those executive orders, so many so fast, because he learned in his last presidency that he would sign it and just send it off and nothing was happening about it. So he goes, no, we're getting stuff done this time and we're not messing around. Not that he didn't last time, but I love it. But we definitely need more people involved in shit talking these people.
Well, not just that, but comfortability builds, it feeds complacency, and
Yep.
we've seen that already. Like I live in Pennsylvania, and we lost special elections here, and then you
Yep.
go and you look at Wisconsin. Just lost the
Rigged.
Wisconsin Supreme Court vote.
Yeah.
Like it's the turnout on the Republican side was just dismal in both cases. And so we've got to get the base mobilized and get them out to vote, and
Right.
get them, like you said, get them on social media, get them encouraging people to go and do the same. And part of the reason we had such a massive win was because look at the constant flow of information. Everybody was talking, everybody was debating, everybody was discussing it. And now, like you said, everybody seems to be getting complacent. They're like, oh,
Yeah. And
well,
that's what
job's
happened.
done.
Right. And I think that's kind of what happened in Wisconsin too, was that exactly what I said. People are just like, daddy's back in the White House, we're getting stuff done. And they didn't feel like they had to go out and vote or do whatever else, because, oh, it'll be taken care of. Yeah, he'll win that election, and that's not the case, clearly. And now that Wisconsin's passed that voter ID law, hopefully their elections going forward will be a lot different, and all 50 states need to have voter ID. I don't understand how that got racist. You got to have an ID to get into a bar or a nightclub, don't you?
Right.
Or you have to have a driver's license to drive. What's any different than exercising your legal right to vote and having proof that you are the one voting? What is racist about that? I don't understand that Democratic narrative. I mean, they push hate and discontent on everybody, on anything. Trump could say, I love Folgers coffee. And you know what? Somehow Folgers coffee would become racist at that point. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's one of those things for me where at the end of the day, like the whole racist narrative finally is kind of falling apart. We're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of the Democrat narratives in general just dropping like flies. But the problem is we're not keeping the pressure on.
Right.
And
And that's what I was saying. We
that's
need
where
more
we're
people
losing.
on here getting stuff, like we need to literally be bullying these people and telling them that they're stupid, because they are. I mean,
Yeah.
bullying great again in America, because that was, I mean, that's what we need, honestly, because I mean, I understand, I feel no ill will or anything towards people. I wish nobody harm. They can do what they want, okay, but get your nonsense off my TV and out of my child's schools and everything else. You can marry who you want, you can do what you want, but the minute you start impacting the rest of America because of your beliefs and your views, that's not okay. And we need to be squashing that at any point we see it, because this whole gender dysphoria and LGBTQ and everything else like that, people, like I said, can do what they want. But when you start, getting crazy and radical with it, I
Yeah.
mean, that's not what needs to be happening.
Well, no, and look at the divide that the whole transgender issue created. The Democrats like to spin this narrative that, oh, well, it's like a 0.5% of the population. It's not that big of a deal. Well, Number one, one of the biggest ads that moved the election was Trump's for you, Kamala's for they them. That was
Right.
devastating for Democrats.
Yeah.
Even poster boys like Gavin Newsom admitted that. But not just that, but within the LGBTQ fucking alphabet community, you saw the divide where a lot of the lesbian, gay, and bisexual people were splitting themselves off from it because they got tired of the nonsense. They got tired of being roped into a radical ideology that does nothing but harm people.
Right.
I the kids was the tipping point, right? That
Yep.
was kind of the moment where everybody was like, nope, we're going to put the brakes on this thing right now.
Right.
But this stuff has been happening to vulnerable adults, people that are mentally ill. Like we treat schizophrenia with medication and therapy and things like that. So you're not going to give a schizophrenic a gun, right?
Right.
Why would you give somebody mentally ill with gender dysphoria the tools to be able to mutilate themselves? It goes back to, like, I don't know how old you are, but I just turned 30 in February, and like growing up we made fun of the
Coming up
emo
on it.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we made fun of the emo kids, but the narrative back then was don't self-harm. And now
Right.
the narrative is self-harm.
Yeah.
Like, do it. Go ahead.
They
It's
just have
fine.
another
As long as it
label and
makes you
another
feel
way
good.
to do it. I mean, that's all it
Yeah.
is. And it's totally acceptable now, which is kind of insane. I mean,
Yeah.
what people, my message to the LGBT community is, look at what Democrats have done for African Americans in America. Nothing. And what do you
Sucks.
think? What do you think LGBTQ is going to be? In the next 10 years behind the Democrats. I mean, y'all are going to be in the same place bitching about the same shit and have gotten nowhere behind the
Yeah.
Democrats. So I mean,
All
I
they've
don't
done is give
understand
them
it.
visibility.
Yeah, I
That's
guess.
it.
I mean, if you
They
want to
actually
call it
haven't
that.
done anything for them.
Yeah, they're visible enough just whining and crying on TikTok and on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand it. There's literally a mental health crisis in this country, and I don't even. That's a whole nother area that I don't even know how the hell we fix or get out of. To be honest with you, but yeah, I mean, good,
Reining
more
in the
power to them.
pharmaceutical companies, reining
Yeah,
in the medical industrial complex, because ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, look at who's
I guess
making the
that would be a
money
good
off of this
start.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, and there's a whole rabbit hole you can go down with SSRIs and a lot of these drugs that the pharmaceutical companies are pushing. There's such a deep rooted issue, I think, in our healthcare system in general
right.
that has kind of led to all this.
But a
I mean,
12-year-old shouldn't be pumping estrogen or testosterone in them. I mean, yeah, that
no,
definitely shouldn't
my
be
God,
happening.
no.
Yeah,
No, everybody used to fight back against roid rage, right? Like, don't do steroids. It's going to shrink your balls. It's going to make you, an angry
right.
piece of
You can't
shit,
get
whatever.
hard and all that.
Yeah. And now you're seeing like steroid use is huge in the fitness community. And we've started advocating for this shit for kids. Like, I don't know if most of these people remember what it's like to be a teenager, but it's a hormonal, miserable fucking time,
Right,
right? You don't know whether you're coming or going half the time. And now you're going to add in synthetic hormones to that. And we
right.
wonder why we have so much violence in schools. We wonder why
Yeah,
we see a rise in school shootings. It
or
has nothing to do with the
depression and
guns.
everything. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and that's a side effect, I think, of the digital age too, because our brains are not meant to process that much information at once.
yeah, social media might have a lot to do with that too.
Oh God, yeah. Instagram is like it's. I finally got it to where the content is what I want to see, but for the
Yeah,
longest time, all Instagram was these fake influencers
Instagram
trying
models
to
and
make
everything.
trying to make their lives look more glamorous than they are, and people, I think, that when you're comparing yourself to somebody else, it's always a slippery slope because you're always going to end up being depressed
Yeah,
ultimately at the end of the day. Like, oh, they have a nicer house than I do. That guy's got a boat. Look at what these people are doing. They're spending their lives traveling, and in reality, they're traveling one time, taking thousands of pictures, and then just reposting them when they want to.
yeah. What's
Like,
that saying? Like, you're the most happiest people on social media are not always what they seem, or something like that. You know where I'm going? But it's like,
yeah,
look at
some of them are
look
the
at where
most
we're
miserable
at.
people.
Right. I mean, I watched that documentary not too long ago about that family in Utah. They were famous on YouTube and stuff. I can't remember the details or what their name was. My wife watched them and stuff, but what happened, what was going on behind the scenes with that family was just insane. And it's like, but they put
Yeah.
on a face for YouTube and everything else. It goes
Yeah.
back to my whole thing about fake conservatives on X. I mean, they are everywhere. I mean, it's crazy how the stuff I've seen on here lately with the stock market reacting to Trump's tariffs. I mean, they're you know they I can understand to an extent because people do have a lot of money in stocks and stock in the stock market. But the last thing you're going to see me do on X is shit talk Donald Trump. I
Right.
mean, I'm just not going to do that. I respect the man too much to be shit talking him on there, and I'm not a hypocrite like the Democrats
Right.
are. So, but what
Well,
do you think about the tariffs?
so the libertarian in me does not like them initially because I tend to be more of a free market capitalism, and with free market capitalism generally comes free trade. But we are in a position right now where, aside from the fact that we have been getting screwed over and free trade hasn't worked for us, we've been too generous, there's also a back end that I think people aren't seeing with a lot of these tariffs, and it's the fact that this isn't this isn't a long-term move, right? It generally is. These are not only just being used as a negotiating tactic, but the market's reaction is also intentional. So we have 9.2 trillion in debt that matures this year. And if that has to be refinanced this year.
Yep.
So if you roll it into 10-year bonds, I think it's every 1 basis point, I think 1 point drop in rates will save us, I think it's something around like
A lot of
1
money.
billion or 2 billion a year. So a 0.5% drop is what, 500 billion over a decade. So you free up a lot of fiscal room in terms of like the lower yields. So it's a detox in a sense. It's meant to cool the economy. It's meant to cut refinancing costs. Couple that with Doge, you save 1 trillion of it. At the end of the day, it's the ultimate goal is to cool the debt and get that paid down. That was a campaign promise. So the reactions to the stock market are people looking short term. It's gonna hurt. I mean, it's gonna be an adjustment. Like, obviously, manufacturing is not going to come back overnight. Um,
Right.
it's just not.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, between the Doge cuts, refinancing the debt, cooling the economy off. The tariffs are, I think they're estimated to bring in like what, 700 billion, something like that. So
Yeah, a lot of money.
yeah, it's a risky move no matter what way you cut it, but the
Well, what
tariffs,
it,
like I said, are not the end goal.
right, and what it boils down to is something needed to happen. I mean, there
Yeah.
was China, all these countries around the world, Cambodia, Vietnam, and everybody in the UK. I'm just seeing here is going to start negotiations with Trump on tariffs. You know,
Yeah.
they were saying yesterday that Trump is not going to back off his policies, and actually he said that this morning.
Yeah.
And I love it because we put a tax on American goods and stuff coming out of America because we are America. We're the best country in the world. Everybody wants to do business with America and come to America.
Yeah.
And the tariff is a tax on America because everybody wants to be us, so you're going to pay for it now.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about the Israeli 10% tariff that Trump put on Israel. And Israel took all of their tariffs away from us. So they don't charge us anything, but we're charging them 10%. That 10% is
Right.
paying for their security and our
Yeah.
intelligence.
Exactly.
You're gonna start paying for our help and our assistance around the world, and that is under the label of a tariff. And that's what people don't understand. The stock market reacted to the tariffs because people don't understand the tariffs.
They don't understand
Because
the point of the tariffs.
right, and they don't understand the reasoning behind why he's doing that, and
Right.
it's just it's sad to look at people that don't understand that, or don't deep dive into it more. They're just looking at their portfolio and saying, "Oh my God, what is Trump doing? X, Y, and Z." Now he's looking at your grandkids and your kids' future of in America, trying to give us as
Yeah.
much money as possible, and basically making a statement to the world saying, "You're going to pay us from now on, going forward."
Well, and you brought up a good point with with China, for example. I think when it comes down to all of these sweeping tariffs, I think China is still the focal point. The
Right.
reason being because if you look at China's economy, it's so artificially inflated, and I don't want people to misconstrue what I mean by that. Like there's so much manipulation with China's currency that now they flood these markets with like the cheap products, right? It's
And child labor.
yeah, yeah, and at the end of the day, like people look at China for some reason. People look at China as like a poor country, right?
Right.
But they're high capacity. They flood their markets with exports. They manipulate their currency nonstop. So I think part of this is essentially trying to rein China in terms of appreciating their currency and making it a little more level on the playing field. So like with Europe, for example.
Yeah, they're trying to play at the big boys table. You know.
Yeah, and they're trying to play at the big boys table, but they don't want to play the big boy games, right?
Right. That's the best
So
way to say
like
it. There you go.
yeah, I think with Europe, for example, specifically, I think the narrative of like we shouldn't be taxing our allies or we shouldn't be tariffing the hell out of our allies. Well, yes, we should, because at the end of the day, if you're tariffing Europe, most of Europe's like their manufacturing, their retail, anything that's being imported here is backed by China. And
Yep.
again, China's cheap goods. So if you start tariffing these countries in Europe, at the end of the day, that's going to cut their exposure to China, right? That's going to force them away from Chinese exports and try to, I guess, in a sense, redraw the lines, bring
Right.
them closer back to the US. Again, it's one of those things that, like average people are looking at it and they're going, well, what the fuck? This is going to cause prices to go up. My portfolio is going into the shitter. Like, what is happening right now? But there really is like a game of 4D chess happening right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And
these people
Trump's
have
just
to
moving those
remember.
pieces, man. It's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing people have to remember is like, if there's one thing that we are definitely solid on under Trump, it's economics. Look at the people that he put in his cabinet. Look at the
Yeah.
Treasury Secretary. I mean, the left likes to scream that, oh, it's just full of billionaires and it's full of his donors. Well, no, it's full of successful business people that understand the way this works.
I heard something
Like,
really stupid yesterday on TikTok, and it was this girl about billionaires, and she said if there was no billionaires, there wouldn't be starving kids in Africa. And I was like, how in the hell does that make any sense? But that's just their that is their narrative about billionaires. And you know who funds the Democratic Party? George Soros. Guess what? He's a fucking billionaire. I mean,
yeah.
it kills me, man. They just I don't understand. They
Well,
come up
there's
with this I don't know hatred towards something, and then they just start spewing nonsense at it. Like all of a
yeah.
sudden, Elon Musk is a Nazi terrorist, and they're no longer buying EVs now because of Elon Musk. I mean, it's absolutely insanity. It really is.
It's I mean, it all comes back to that idea, like that statement of if there were no billionaires, there'd be no starving kids in Africa. Well, you're assuming that the entire world would operate under a Marxist ideology and communism where nobody has more than the other. But
Yep.
in reality, when you look at communism, the people get thrown into this level playing field while the size of the state and the people in charge, they grow the massive wealth and everybody else is left to get fucked.
Yeah, whoever's
Like,
cooking the food, they'll be rich instead of.
yeah,
I mean, it's like,
yeah.
oh
I
man,
mean, and that's the thing is like they're assuming that everybody's just gonna hold hands and sing kumbaya and get along, and
right?
that's not gonna happen. Like
You,
most of the countries in Africa and the Middle East, they can't get along with each other. How the fuck do you expect it to work on a global scale?
yeah,
Like, there's a lot of potential in Africa too. I mean,
yeah.
look at the mineral reserves, look at the diamond mines, look at you look at everything that they're doing. The potential is there.
Yeah, but the
but the people
Democrat
just can't
ideology
get
of
it.
billionaires are the problem. If we didn't
Yeah.
have billionaires, it'd fix everything. I mean, it's insanity. But back to what you were saying about tariffs. I've got this chart pulled up I shared that has got a lot of relevance to that, and it's a pie chart of the NATO countries that pay in to NATO, and U.S. has 70.5% of all the income that comes into NATO is what America pays for. The
Do you have an
UK's
option to share your screen on that down here at the
uh,
bottom?
yeah. Let's see. Right there.
Yeah, there it is.
So yeah, so the U.S. contributes 70.5% to NATO, and those are the rest of the countries. So, and that's another thing that these tariffs are going to do now. So it's like, these countries. Number one, America is being taxed more than any other country in the world when it comes to tariffs, and we contribute more to NATO than any other country in the world. So one of Trump's foreign policies when it comes to NATO is okay, y'all all need to start paying in for our protection and for American, diplomacy around the world. Y'all need to start paying your fair share, and tax or tariffs are going to have a lot to do with that because these countries that are not contributing to NATO are going to be paying us so much more money to import and export goods into our country, which is going to compensate for a lot of that. So if they don't want to contribute
Yeah.
to NATO, we're going to get the money one way or another through the tariffs. So I just this chart here is just baffling to me when you put it into something that you can see. I mean, Spain and Turkey and Poland, like Poland's right there with Russia and the whole UK or Ukrainian conflict. And
Yeah.
let something more to happen, or I mean, they've only paid in 1.2% into NATO, so we're back in the world's police force is what we're doing.
Yeah, and we're an ocean away.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Poland is a prime example. I mean, they're right there on the front lines. If Europe is so worried about Russian expansion, why are they not doing anything?
Right.
Why aren't they wanting to pitch in more? Well, no, because they look at America as the sugar daddy.
Yeah.
They'll they'll back us.
The U.S. got us, man. They'll come when we need them, or they'll give us all the money we need.
That's not the case. Those days are long gone now.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, bottom line is you've got to get the wars to end. You've got to get a negotiation to end the Russia Ukraine war. Obviously, we saw that it couldn't be done in a day.
Right.
I think everybody knew that.
Zelensky's a
But
fucking punk, and that I mean
yeah,
he needs to be put in timeout, and needs to get told what he needs to do to end this war. And I understand the passion and willingness to fight, but when you've got thousands of people in your country dying daily and outside your country dying daily, I mean, I think any sane person would be like, you know what, we need to end this somehow. Maybe the odds might not be all in my favor, but what's the best outcome that I can get? And him screaming, they need protection and stuff like that killed me because that was the whole thing about the mineral deal that Trump was wanting to get signed. Because if there is American companies and Americans in Ukraine mining minerals in Ukraine, that is all the protection you need. Because if a bomb drops on American in Ukraine, guess what's coming? The American military. So
yes,
that is the whole basis of the mineral deal. Yeah, it'd be beneficial to the American economy having a surplus of oil or a surplus of ores and stuff like that. It would help us economically. Sure, it's a great deal for
yeah,
that. But Lazinski was not looking at it that way. He
no,
didn't see the fact that Americans would be on the ground in Ukraine, and that's a protection right there in itself that he didn't understand, and he pissed that deal away. Hopefully
he did.
they'll get something done. But and he's
Well,
just a
he's
fool.
short sighted.
Yeah,
He thinks it has to be military protection. Well,
right.
no.
That's exactly
Russia
what he.
doesn't want war with the US. So you put
Yeah,
American citizens on the ground, it's not going to happen. Like
yeah. And having American troops in Ukraine is not going to do anything but cause more problems. I mean, from a
right.
political standpoint, that's not a good look at all. And on top of that, you put a more guns into a already heated battle, and that's just not going to be a good idea.
Well, and we can't unfortunately our European counterparts have shown that they can't be trusted not to escalate
Yeah.
because you have Macron in France and the UK that are like, oh well, we'll put boots on the ground over there. Well, you go ahead, you
Right.
fucking go ahead. We're an ocean away. I will happily sit back and watch Europe burn. You become
Right.
a totalitarian state, so naturally, of course, you want military conflict.
Yeah, I mean,
But I
hell,
don't want to
Britain's
put
locking
American
people up for
soldiers.
memes and WhatsApp group chats. I mean, it is insane what's going on over there. I mean, it really is. I don't know how the hell anybody's living in Europe now. I
Well,
mean, it's
I have
insane.
family in the UK, and
Really?
when Keir Starmer he posted about it was the banning ninja swords,
Yeah. I
and so
mean,
I
what a
texted my
complete waste
family.
of fucking resources and time. Like, I mean, I
Well,
could
not
think
just
of a
that.
million other things that they could be doing other than pushing legislation to ban fucking samurai
Crack,
swords.
yeah, crack down on immigration for one.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's funny because I texted my second cousin over there, and I was like, "This man has piss for brains, doesn't he?" And she responded, and she's like, "The sad part is the English people can't even say what they really think about him for fear of being locked
Yeah.
up over it." And it's like that's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yep. And they call Elon Musk a Nazi. I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
uh, it
they're
is,
policing speech.
yeah. I mean, look at if you're a student of history in any kind of way, you just look back at what Hitler did when he took over Germany in '39. He started implementing stuff. He banned essentially their version of Second Amendment rights. So citizens, it was illegal to have firearms. And then the next thing he did, I don't know what in order, but this is what he did. Then he took over and had all their media controlled by state government. So I mean, he controlled what they did and what they saw with the media, and then he took away their way to fight back. I mean, it's exactly what's happening over there in Europe. I mean,
Yeah.
they've controlled BBC and all the other news outlets in Britain. They can control exactly what the British people see. And then, I mean, they've already taken the guns away. Now they're taking even the swords away. I mean, there's not even a. I guess if they were to try to fight the government back, they'd get number two pencils or something. I mean, they have no way to fight back. It's insane.
Well, it is. I mean, they're putting their people in a situation to where they can't defend themselves.
Yeah.
And they're looking at it from a position of government control, but it's like you're so worried about, again, Russian advancement. What are you going to do if Russia says, you know what, fuck it, we're just full send.
Right.
These people don't have guns, they can't speak out against it. Fuck it, roll tanks in there and just take them out. That's
Let's
one
see
of
what
the
happens.
advantages to the U.S. is like we have more guns than people, and that's just
Right.
the registered ones we know about. Like,
Yeah.
like nobody's going to try to launch an invasion realistically here in the US. I mean, look, we've had what is it, 20 million illegal immigrants come over here, and you haven't seen mass violence anywhere.
No.
Why? Well, because you're going to get shot the fuck up is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like
And they're
that's
preying. They're preying on those immigrants are preying on the weak and the unarmed, or like the Lake and Riley and the girls like that are they're catching them off guard or whatever else. I mean,
New
because
Orleans
they know
over the
they can't
years.
go up to the guy with the souped up or jacked up truck and do anything with him. You know,
Yeah.
that's another reason. That's a whole other topic with the illegal immigrant situation that needs to be fixed, and they're fixing it, which is good.
Oh,
But
100%. I mean, you look at the actions that the Trump administration's taking, against the cartels. Cartels have operatives in every major city in the country. If they really wanted to, they
no
could
doubt.
stir a lot of shit up real quick. But
Yeah.
notice they're fucking silent. You had that
Yeah.
like isolated incident of cartel members shooting at Border Patrol. But outside of that, they have basically just kind of like laid down, spread their legs, and been like, "Yep, okay,
Yeah.
this is what it is."
And Trump labeling them all as foreign terrorist organizations is awesome. And not only from the fact that we can get them out quicker, and it helps the police agencies, local and federal, apprehend them and do stuff quicker and easier. Label them
Yep.
as terrorists. I mean, because it's essentially what they are. I mean, they're putting drugs on the street. They're murdering and killing and everything else. And it's insane that a president of the United States, Joe Biden, allowed something like that to happen. I mean, I don't know. I've heard so many different things, but my opinion of it was they literally just opened the gates up, like we all know, to allow as many people as they could because they wanted to get more voters. They wanted to gift citizenship to those people and instantly create 30 more million or 20 million, however many more Democrats. I mean, that was, I think, their main goal. And they were going to try to do it as silently as they could. But there's just no way you could do that without being silent about it. And it's
No,
just
I
insane.
mean, they wanted a one party rule, and
Yep.
that's
And
because
if
I mean,
Kamala would have got elected, that's exactly what we'd have. We'd have
it'd be over.
America would have ceased to exist because by now they would have already been either drafted or passed some kind of legislation allowing those refugees, granting them citizenship or something like that. I mean, the
Yeah.
my biggest worry, my biggest concern, I said this when the whole border thing started happening and they started pouring into our country was, 9/11 was horrible and it was an eye-opening moment for us. But with those millions of people that have entered our country now, we have
Mhm.
absolutely no idea who they were, what they were doing, and they've had 4 years and some change to plot and plan something. And my biggest fear is that 9/11 times 10 is going to happen shortly. I hate to say that, but that's my idea or my mindset that something's going to happen, and when it does, they're going to blame it on Trump. They're going to spin the media or the Democrats are going to spin it to where it was Trump's fault or whatever else. And here comes the impeachment hearings or something like that. And on top of all that, it's going to be a catastrophic loss of life. And I just
Oh
hope that
yeah.
they get a hold of these people and find them before something like that happens.
Well, and it's interesting you brought that up, that 9/11 times 10, because there's an account that I follow called Command 11, and there was a really really good thread posted not that long ago
Yeah, you have to send that to me.
that was talking about that exact thing. I'm trying to find it. It wasn't them that posted it. It was another account. So basically, Command 11 is just OSINT, like it's just open source intel. And I guess apparently there is a an Al Qaeda and ISIS plan happening right now within our borders, and they're talking
I
about
wouldn't doubt it.
like waves of attacks and things like that. I have to find this because it kind
That's
of
really scary. I hope Cash Patel and everybody has got a wind of that because those guys definitely need to be investigated if that's the case. But it's been a
well
fear of mine for years, because we all know how much Democrats and the left hate Trump, and they hate him because of common sense and his policies that he's bringing to American politics, and they're with all the lawsuits and political persecution of Trump, they're going to do something, like I said, something close to 9/11 on a scale of loss of life. And I hate to even speak it into existence, but that's just been a
yeah.
worry of mine since this whole border crisis started, that
Well,
something
that
bad is going to happen.
well, and it's reasonable because I mean, look at you talk about Venezuelan migrants and things like that are coming here, and like that's understandable because they have a direct path. Like it's easy for them to get here
Yeah.
regardless. But these Middle Eastern immigrants and the Chinese nationals and all these people coming here,
Biden was
there had
flying
to
them
be a
in. It's
there had
crazy.
to be a coordinated effort to get them here. I
Some kind of organization.
finally found that post. So this came from AX Actual, so they're another open source, but they posted coordinated ISIS K attack on U.S. hospitals imminent. Here's what we know: serious, incredible information about a multi-city, multi-phase ISIS K terror plot targeting level 1 trauma centers in the U.S. mid-tier cities. So
Wow.
planning attacks using car bombs, followed by armed assaults and hostage taking. Multiple hospitals in mid-tier cities. Population 100 to 500K. Examples being Tulsa, Boise, Toledo, Des Moines, Wichita. The objectives: maximum civilian casualties, paralyze emergency services, and create chaos, all before a larger Al Qaeda op. Expected before Al Qaeda's 9/11 2.0. A possible aviation centered attack with focus on the DC region. Intel suggests post Ramadan window within 2 to 3 weeks. Where the intel came from: three independent pieces of intelligence from two ISIS K camps in Afghanistan.
Man, we can only
Communications
hope that
efforts.
the FBI or somebody's gotten at least wind of it or something like that. It's insane.
Well, and they're giving this, like, terrorists may have entered the U.S. using fraudulent Afghan passports produced by the Haqqani network, specifically using 1/1, whatever, as fake
Yeah.
birth dates. So where is, like, ICE needs to flag every Afghan passport with 1/1 date of birth ASAP. So, like, this stuff is not. It's not just it's not just BS. They're giving you these details. Like,
Right.
this is all coming from open source intelligence being done quite literally out in the open.
Right.
So they're go on to explain why the mid-tier cities, like, slower police responses, they
Less.
don't have
Yeah.
counterterrorism hubs, things like that. But I mean, this post goes on for quite a bit. Uh, but they're saying, like, hospitals being one of the main ones, multi-city hospital siege followed by airplane-based 9/11 style attack targeting DC or symbolic US sites. That's a most dangerous scenario.
Wow, that's
And they
insane.
go on to say it's a playbook, not speculation. So unfortunately, I think your fears are founded.
Yeah.
But why are we not seeing updates from the FBI and Homeland Security
Yeah.
and everybody else? And
Tulsi and everybody at the intelligence agencies. I mean, that's something that, when I was talking about Pam Bondi down in Florida, holding a press conference over 3 MS-13 gang members that they arrested this morning. Like I said, all that's great and that needs to be happening. But what you just pulled up is what Pam Bondi and Cash Patel need to be focusing on, the bigger picture and stuff like that. I mean, rounding up criminals and illegal criminals and stuff like that is what needs to be happening anyway,
yeah,
without their direct attention on it. But stopping a multi-phase terrorist attack or
yeah,
some kind of big event from happening, that's the kind of arrest I'm talking about, is the big
yeah.
time guys.
Well, and they're given these like the passport information. That's great. But at the same time, we need to see ICE upping their deportation numbers, because how
Yeah.
many of these illegals came across the border that didn't have passports,
Right.
that didn't have a proper source of identification? They were just caught and released into the country. Like,
Yeah. There's no documentation that they even exist, but they're here. You know.
right. So, we need to see more action from the back end. I mean, Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. But the problem is, I think there's a disconnect between him and the people that he appointed.
Right.
Like, Cash Patel's been pretty radio silent. So,
Yeah.
you got to wonder what he's up to. Maybe that's strategic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's been good at giving updates on X, which is good, because we didn't have that prior to the Trump administration. But yeah, they definitely need to be more in tune with what's going on in America. I mean, they're him and Tulsi and a couple other people in his cabinet. He picked them because they're loyal and they'll be loyal to him, which is great. And they're doing exactly what we voted for and what he wants them to do. But there needs to be, yes, sir, we're doing this and we're taking care of it. But have you heard this? Or have you seen about this? This is what I'm hearing. We need to be acting on this kind of thing, instead of just yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, and getting this stuff done, which is, kind of what we're seeing now. So,
Finally. I mean, I understand, I complained a little bit about transparency, specifically from people like Pam Bondi, that, she's done more
yeah,
Fox
where the
News
hell are the
interviews than
Epstein
actual work.
files? Anyway, that still got me,
Right. Right. Well, and I understand there's a certain level of secrecy that has to be had. You can't tell the American people everything, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to stuff like this, like these coordinated terror attacks. You don't want to cause mass panic,
Right.
but at the same time, like, they need to be telling us, hey, we're going to be, whether it's upping counterterrorism in specific cities, like, people need to be prepared for it regardless.
Right.
But we're not hearing about any of that. We're relying on open source intelligence to tell us this. And the people at the highest levels of government should just at least be like, we're aware of this, we're investigating, period.
Yeah.
And leave it at
And
that.
leave it
But
at
we're
that.
not getting that. And it's a scary thought, man. I mean, we live in rough times, because weak, the old saying, weak men create hard times
Yeah.
create strong men create good times.
Right.
We had a weak administration that either just overlooked everything, or B, there was malevolent intent.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be stuck cleaning up the mess.
And
And we
that's
have
what's happening
politicians
there.
in office that won't do anything.
Right. I mean, I've said this too over the years. I think if we implemented some sort of mandatory military service, there wouldn't be a liberals in America.
Yeah.
It would toughen us up. And I've also said if we ended up going to World War III, they wouldn't exist either. But I hope it would never go that far. But that's we've gotten so complacent and so relaxed as a country as a whole, and that just and that goes back to what we were talking about, with the fake influencers and stuff, and the liberals on TikTok and everything else, about how people need to start getting more involved, because we've elected Trump now. Yeah, great. But we need to be more vocal about everything, because when you're sitting back, not doing anything, just, oh, Trump will take care of it, or his administration's got it. That's just leaving the internet and everything else totally open and available to the liberals and the democratic mindset. I mean, they're going to take over if we don't do anything about it.
Well, they look at how long we fought to actually have a place in the
Right.
social media sphere and
Thank you,
open
Elon.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the after effects of it. Zuckerberg cut down on their content moderation. You started to see more of these platforms open up and actually allow open and free discussion. And if we sit back, those people are just going to take right back over.
Yeah, it's funny how after Elon started doing all this great stuff to X and changed it, from Twitter to X when he bought it, and he's implemented all this free speech and has been very vocal about that. How quickly Zuckerberg and Bezos and those guys just totally flipped their script on what they were doing with Facebook and the Washington Post, because Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post and stuff like that, trying to be a little bit more transparent, because they got the that's how people get rich and stuff like that. That's how they've stayed that way, is because they've got the temperature of the country. And they started flipping their script real quick, because they said, oh, wait a minute. People are tired of us selling their information and, poking into everybody's lives and stuff. Let's kind of dial back from that. And it opened up a lot of people's eyes. It's great.
Well, and I think another part of that too is outside of the Facebook controversy with the Biden administration trying to censor them, you made a good point. People get rich by working in the shadows.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, it doesn't matter, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's a level of strategy to it. But when you have an administration that you can just kind of glide by and do whatever you want in the background, and they're not targeting you,
Yeah.
you have the ability, and you get complacent. And now I think a lot of these people, Zuckerberg and Bezos, and a lot of these people that had quote unquote red pill moments, I don't think it was a red pill moment. I think it was the realization of, okay, well, we can't work behind the scenes anymore, because all of this shit is going to come right out.
Right.
And so they had to shift their viewpoints. So whether or not it's legitimate, I mean, I think we'll see over time with a lot of these larger figures and the folks that have kind of shifted to the other side, shifting from left to right, we'll find out how many of them are genuine or not. Because I mean, at least there are guys like, and I don't agree with him on a lot, but Mark Cuban, for example, he's at least ideologically consistent.
Yeah, I would say
you got to
so.
give it to him.
Yeah.
But
he's consistently a dumbass.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it makes you wonder how he became a billionaire, right? But at the same time, it wasn't until he got in with Big Pharma, trying to do this thing with cost plus drugs.
Exactly. Until he all of a sudden he was in, everywhere supporting Kamala, and, Joe Biden's the best and everything else, and they support whoever pays them the most money. I mean, it's insane. And it's not like Mark Cuban. Yeah. Mark Cuban, of course, didn't probably need the money, but he was making a lot of money by going out there and saying what, pushing their narrative. And that's all it was pushing their narrative. And it's crazy how silent all of them now are, and that Trump's won. All those people in Hollywood and everybody that supported Kamala and everything else. I mean, they have just tarnished their reputations.
Well, and that reflects in the approval numbers.
Oh yeah, 21%. I mean, that's just crazy. And we need to pump those numbers down. We can get them further down.
Oh yeah, I mean that comes back to the idea of mobilizing and keeping the pressure on. Kick them while they're down. Fuck them.
Exactly.
They would do the exact same thing to us.
Yep.
So, it's a very small portion of the Democratic base that is still actively pushing back. And it's like, dude, that's 21%. You can beat the piss out of them if you really wanted to. But
Man.
we're
And
not.
yeah. Jasmine Crockett, and now you see Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders and everybody all of a sudden trying to step up and do all this stuff. I mean, they're just making fools out of themselves. Eric Swalwell, man, that guy is just, it's just, he irks me. He's just, I don't even know. Jasmine Crockett, ghetto
He's
trash.
James Bond in reverse. He's the one he fucks the spies. Like,
Yeah,
come
I swear.
on, man.
Fang Fang. That's why I call Tiffany Fong 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 now. Man, I can't. It's like she's
That's
fake
brilliant.
conservative to the T. I mean, she's just posting whatever she can to get impressions on X. But yeah, Jasmine
Well, and
Crockett.
you can't
Sorry,
help
go
but
ahead.
wonder how much of that is not like, I know we talk about psyops a lot, right? But you look at people like her, and you look at Ian Miles Chong, and like all of these people, and it's
Yeah,
like, oh well, they're grifting for money. Well, no, how much of that is grifting for money, and how much of that is like, a Fang Fang situation where it's like they're testing the temperature, like. Same thing with TikTok. Like they're mining data on the next generation of Americans and figuring out how they can manipulate people. Like
exactly.
it's blatant. So how much of it is that? And Tiffany Fong came out of nowhere. She was a
Yeah,
fucking nobody, and now she's massive. Like, you can't tell me there's not some sort of artificial control happening in the background.
man. Yeah, I don't even I don't even know where. That's a good point. Where Tiffany even came from, or what started her rise on here. I mean, she during Trump's election when he was, out there doing rallies and everything, trying to get reelection or during the reelection, she was, posting stuff. Great, avid Trump supporter, everything else like that. And then the minute the stock market started ticking down, I mean, like I said in that comment, the constant moaning that she's been doing on there about him recently is just, it goes to show you their true colors, man. And the people that are on X got to really be careful if you're a true conservative about who you're paying attention to and who you're giving your support to, because they're fake and phony, some of them.
I mean, a lot of them are. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's become, unfortunately, I think social media is that double-edged sword. Like, it's great because you can amplify certain things and you keep people informed, but at the same time, you have you have a lot of bad actors. Like, somebody, I can't remember what the hell it was the other day. I quote tweeted it, and it was this guy was talking about, yeah, I received information that confirms there was a sniper on the water tower at the Trump assassination attempt in Butler. He was a military industrial complex asset brought in by BlackRock, and just goes and says like, oh, I got information from this source. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure a random X account with under 100,000 followers definitely got this information. Like, you have those bad actors that they do it either for the grift, or they do it to try to throw people off base. And the second you lose your messaging is when you lose everything. The Democrats proved that. They completely lost their ability to message during this last election, and it wrecked them.
Yeah,
So
I'm trying to find, I cannot remember this guy's name for the life of me now that I'm thinking about him, but he was very vocal about DeSantis, and that's all. This is a topic that's really irks me too. Is the people that were so openly turned on Trump when DeSantis was running for president against Donald Trump. That you saw a lot of conservatives flip the script and go to DeSantis and leave Trump, and there was a lot of them on X that were openly shit talking Trump. And then as soon as DeSantis dropped out of the race, guess who they're supporting now? Trump. I mean,
yeah,
Chip Roy is one here. There's a video of him I shared. This was July of last year about him saying those MAGA fuckers
yeah.
on there because he was a staunch supporter for DeSantis. I mean, I'm sure you give me a couple minutes, I could pull a video up of him campaigning with DeSantis and talking shit about Trump. I mean, they're everywhere.
Well, it would be a different story. Like, I understand that, there's reasons DeSantis is popular, right? It's a different brand of
Yeah, I mean, he's a
conservatism.
great governor. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
the stuff that he said about Trump, I mean, Trump is the reason he's the governor of Florida, and that he even has a political career. So,
I mean, he's not wrong there.
yeah,
Like at the end of the day, and I get it. It's a different brand of conservatism, but the problem that we've seen, and I think it's mainly been since Trump entered the political sphere, is whether it's Democrats during a general election or it's the other side of conservatives during primaries, is instead of focusing on what they were going to do in their policy positions, it was like, well, here's what I'm going to do different from Trump.
right. And
Well, that
been the
doesn't tell me
whole.
how it works.
Yeah, that's been the whole Democrat strategy for the last however long. I mean, that's why their approval numbers are where they're at, because during Trump's first administration, they were supporting everything that he wasn't supporting. Excuse me, they were vocal about against everything that he was doing. And people in the last few years since Trump's first administration have started to see through the bullshit. And they're finally realizing, I hope the Democrats never realize this. I hope they just stay ignorant and stupid, but some
Me
of them
too.
are finally starting to wake up, unfortunately, that, you know what, we need to start changing our approach to this, because shit talking Trump is just not getting us anywhere.
No, no, and come 2028, I mean, if you have JD Vance at the front of it, you're going to have a hell of a hard time competing with that.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, Democrats have to come back to the center. But I think the problem that they have created for themselves is that even if they do make it appear that they're coming back to the center, or even if they do come back to the center, people aren't going to trust them.
Right. Their credibility's out the window at this point.
It's long gone, and that's where conservatives, I don't know that I want to say conservatives, but like the MAGA movement, this populist right that we have seen pop up, if we can manage to stay consistent and stay on message, there's a real potential for the next 12, 16 years
Right.
for populism to stay in power. I mean, you go back to the 90s, right? You go back to the Clinton administration, and then even from there, Democrats were always the populist group. That's why they had so much footing. And as they leaned away from populism and started to move more into this globalist mentality, that's when people started to kind of turn their back. And
Right.
we saw that happen massively in this last election. People flooded towards populism because they got sick and tired of their quality of life going to shit while we were spending billions and billions of dollars to try to improve other people's lives.
Right.
They finally
It,
realized, like, we need America first.
Yeah, I mean, anybody with 2 ounces of common sense during that last administration could see right through 90% of the bullshit. I mean, Democrats did that to themselves. They are the only ones to blame, and they dug that hole to themselves by their radical leftist policies and their hatred for Donald Trump. I mean, putting the man through that many lawsuits and cases for utter nonsense, and then for
Yep.
nothing to come out of it. I mean, further put them in bad light. I mean, it's just their political persecution of one man because he was openly more supported and had better common sense policies than they did. That was just a huge step in the wrong direction for them. And I love it because, and I hope that 21% approval rating just hits the negative numbers soon,
Yeah.
because they have dug their holes so deep that it's not, they're not coming out of it anytime soon.
Well, for me, I think, and I've said this for a while, the downfall of the Democratic Party started in 2016. And part of that is due to Trump, but the other half of that is due to the fact that Democrats let the establishment take over. The left missed their moment when they fucked over Bernie Sanders for Hillary Clinton. And then they did the same thing again in 2020. They fucked over Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
in favor of Joe Biden. They missed their moment. And
Yeah.
now they're struggling to find their way back to the right
Yeah.
messaging.
They're playing catch up, but they're 4 miles behind us at this point.
Oh yeah, they're not, and they've got one leg tied behind their back. Like
Yeah.
they're
The fact that they're going to
they're
try to run AOC and Bernie Sanders, I mean, I had that post go viral. I mean, it's just like, these Yeah, it just goes to show you how out of touch they are, and I love it. Hope no Democrat sees this podcast because I want them to stay idiots.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got Gavin Newsom doing his thing now,
Yeah,
and like
I got a lot of money that says he runs this upcoming election because you've
I
seen
think
him
so.
everywhere, and it's just like, just come out and say you're doing it, dude. Don't you know?
Yeah, don't bullshit it. I mean, look, you know damn well that he saw what long form podcasting did, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm going to do a podcast. My first
Right,
guest is Charlie Kirk." It's like
right.
you're trying to find out what the playbook is. That's what you're doing, and we're anybody with a half a brain can see that you're moving into the space. B, you're trying to make yourself appear more moderate. Like at the end of the day, Gavin Newsom is nothing more than a smooth talking snake.
Yeah, he's a
He's
white,
saying what he
clean
has
cut
to again.
Kamala Harris. That's all he is. It is horrible.
I think he's a little worse. I hate to say that, but I mean,
Yeah.
he outright
Well,
lies.
there's parts of
Kamala
him
is
that
just
is.
yeah. Well, Kamala's at least she's just dumb.
Yeah, I'm about to say she's just ignorant, but I guess
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom is a little bit more educated, or at least talks a little better.
Well, he talks a little bit better. The thing with Kamala is like she was just an idiot. She had no platform to stand on. Like Gavin has his platform and he will openly lie to you.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if you watched his podcast with Charlie Kirk, but he's like, he went on the tirade about Latinx and he's like, I've never once heard somebody in my office use that. And like, there's been all these meetings and, we never did the pronoun thing. And it's like, bro, go back through your social media. You use Latinx
yeah.
how
And
many times?
that's the thing about X. The people on X will correct you in a heartbeat. You say these Democrats get on CNN or wherever else and say something. Next thing you know, somebody has thrown something out there totally opposite of, or finding stuff that is totally contradicting what they're saying. Like last night, there was videos in the past couple of days. There's been videos all over X with Bill Clinton, with Chuck Schumer, and with Nancy Pelosi
Yep.
totally going against what they've been pushing here in the past couple of weeks, with the
They were
tariffs and
advocating
everything.
for tariffs and protectionism.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
then he's like, do you not think anything that gets on the internet, people are going to find it? I mean, and not even 15, 20 years ago, these same people that are openly against and are staunch opponents of Trump's tariffs are 15, 20 years ago, they were all for it and wanting to do it. I mean, Obama was on there's a video of Obama I shared too, of him in 2012 saying about the tariffs that he put on China's tires because they were overcharging us on tires from China.
yeah.
And it's like the hypocrisy in the Democratic Party and on the left as a whole has been another factor in their approval ratings, and their just total credibility has been shot out the window by that. I mean, it's insane that they keep doing it too. There's a level of insanity there of them just keep doing the same shit over again.
Well, and they're out of touch. I think they're still stuck in the age of mainstream media where you kind of have to believe whatever's force fed to you, and they haven't quite caught up to the fact that the internet is a real thing. Like anything you say or do can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion.
Yeah,
Like
and you will be roasted on X. Believe me.
Yeah, it's like there's the old like the old Rule 34 of the internet. Like if you can think of it, there's porn of it. Like it kind of goes with the Democrats of like, if you can think it, they've lied about it.
Exactly.
Like it's out
or they've
there,
tried
it's
to sell it.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that kind of weird dichotomy of where like everything has kind of come full circle, where the Republicans of today are the Democrats of the 90s.
Yep.
And the Democrats of today are just communists.
Exactly.
Like it's never going to happen. It's never going to work for them unless they wake the fuck up and come back to the center. Like
let's hope they never do.
Well, I hope not, because imagine if somebody with the ideology and the ideological consistency of like a Jon Stewart, who is very much a moderate Democrat. Imagine if somebody like that ran on their ticket. We'd have a fight on our hands.
Yeah,
because
that's
some of it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I have been worried about. But I mean, we're so far away from 2028, but you can't help not but think of stuff like that, you know. And Gavin Newsom, as retarded as that guy is, I mean, I think that he would have some somewhat common sense ideas and policies that he could put forth in a debate or at a rally or something that would hit home with a majority of Americans. And that's why I just hope that they try to push an AOC or a Bernie or something like that, because just stay dumb, but they're gonna, unfortunately, over the next couple of years, they're gonna wake up and they're gonna do that exact thing, and then we're gonna have a real fight for 2028. But I hope America continues to wake up and sees Trump and what he's doing, and that way we'll be able to win in 2028, because we definitely need to continue his policies and his agenda for another 4 years on top of this.
Well, that's it. My biggest fear, and this is where, back to the tariffs kind of comes into play, is the American culture is all about instant gratification, right? We want results, we want them now. And there's, I worry that there's going to be a large portion of Trump's voter base that's going to end up, quote unquote, regretting their vote because they don't understand the long term play. I pivot to like Argentina for it because Javier Milei came in, they were like full blown socialist, and Javier Milei came in, cut all these massive regulations, cut a lot of the financial safety nets, and people are feeling the pinch. But guess what? He still has a massive approval rating. Like the
Yeah,
people are still 100% behind him, even though they're hurting worse than they have in probably 40 years because they don't have the tit of the government to suck on. And I'm worried that as Americans and the way the mentality is culturally, that people are not going to be able to accept the fact that like shit's going
yeah,
to get
see
worse
through it.
before it gets better.
Yeah, and I hope real quick, because I need to hit the road, but
Yeah.
um, I think there's enough time in Trump's presidency still for us to rebound. I mean, this is going to be, the tariffs and everything is just going to be short lived, a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. We still got 3 more years of Donald Trump, suck it liberals, and there's going to be a lot better outcome, in the next 4 years. But there's so much left to do, and that it's going to get done to make America great again. And I just can't wait to see what the future holds for
America.
us as a party and for as a movement.
Yep.
But there are going to be those short or those select amount of MAGA supporters that did vote for Trump that are going to be a little less educated, that will maybe regret their vote. But hopefully there's enough time to disprove them and to prove them right and to make them feel
Yeah.
better. With anything else,
Well,
nothing you do is going to make everybody happy. So
no, exactly. But that's why people like you are so important, because you have taken this following, which is now I think it's like over 150,000, and you're consistently keeping people in the loop. So and it's guys like you that throughout the election cycle kind of change the tide. And it's going to be guys like you over the next 3 years, 3.5 years, that are going to maintain that momentum. So dude, don't stop. Keep doing what you're doing because
absolutely.
it's how people stay informed. Before we close this thing out, why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you, any socials or anything that you want them to
Yeah, of
follow you
course.
on?
I actually I had deleted my Facebook and Instagram a couple years ago because all that nonsense in Zuckerberg. But I recently did just create a Facebook and Instagram. So follow me on X and search the Patriot Oasis on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, let's get it done.
There's your X account. Damn, almost 170,000. All right. And
Heck
then
yeah.
looks like you have a website here too, patriotoasis.com.
Yeah, it's a very basic website, but if you don't get a hold of me on X or any of the other social medias, there's a contact tab on the Patriot Oasis that gets sent directly to me. But I'm pretty good about checking all of my DMs. So, and there is a support tab in there, and all of and subscribe too, because all of the subscription donations that I get, I send it straight to Tunnels for Towers every month to
There's a
support.
buck guys, it's $1 a month. Just fucking do it. Seriously, like
But it's a great
yeah, go do it.
organization, and I don't really need the any of the money that I get from Twitter, so or all the social media. So I much rather give that to Tunnel to Towers to help somebody else out. And yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
Well, and I'm gonna try to I'm going to try to set an example here. I put my email in, so I want to obviously be careful. I don't want all of my information out there, but I'm going to try to set an example here, and I'm going to go ahead and subscribe now, dude. It's $1 a month. It goes to a good cause. Like you can't beat it.
Cool.
So,
And yeah, we'll definitely have to do this podcast again, man. I enjoyed it.
dude, anytime. I mean, I try to do one show a week, and it's not always consistent, just because of my schedule. So being able to record ahead of time and get these things out is, dude, it's super helpful. So anytime you want to come on,
Yeah,
let's
here in the
get it
next couple
done.
of weeks, we'll have to do it. I'll be in Nashville for the next week or so, getting some stuff done. But yeah, here in the next few weeks, we'll have to maybe do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So just so everybody sees here, now that the checkout's actually working, I'm so glad they switched to Stripe. And there we go. So just so everybody sees, no bullshit. Go get it done. Seriously, it's $1 a month. Go do it.
Awesome.
But right on, man. Appreciate the time. Thank you
Yeah,
very
dude.
much. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, man. You have a good one.
All right, man. You too.